Coming to you from rugby's greatest fortress, New Zealand's national stadium, Eden Park, is the Aotearoa Rugby Pod. Kia ora and welcome to the Aotearoa Rugby Pod, our first episode for 2026. In a brand new place, as you can see, we're at Eden Park. We're in the Black Door room, which is in the bottom of the South Stand, a beautiful cocktail bar where Metallica and Coldplay and all of the big acts who come through here and enjoy themselves before they head out on stage. So we're very lucky to be here thanks to Eden Park, and we've got a big year ahead. Before we get into talking to Jip and Bryn and we look into a Super Rugby preview, we've also got Angus Mabey, New Zealand referee, to come in and talk about these controversial rule changes and exactly how they'll work, to give you a little bit more detail on what will go from there. Before all of that, let's talk about where you can find us this year. And if you're watching this, you've already found us, so congratulations. But there's plenty of places to find us. Aotearoa Rugby Pod official channels, as you can see on the bottom of the screen. If you're watching, get us there. You can get YouTube, social media, across everywhere. We'll be using those channels. But we've also got some new media partners for the year. We're no longer with Sky, we're with stuff.co.nz, so you can go to that website, New Zealand's biggest news website, and also to their YouTube channel to get some of our content. We've also aligned with Rugby Pass, the world's biggest rugby platform, and we'll be on the Rugby Pass app as well. So you can catch us in the Rugby Pass app, full episodes there. And of course, if you go there, you can see their match centers, you can catch their stats, and you know we love a stat. So they'll be helping us out with our stats this year. So plenty of places where you can find us. We've also got a weekly newsletter to go out to you. So please send us an email at arp@fandommedia.co.nz. We'll add you to our mail list, and each week you can see what's coming up on the show, what kind of content we've got for you, a few updates along the way. So there you go. Let's get into it. We've got Super Rugby starting this week. We've got so much to talk about. And to my left-hand side, I have James Parsons, Six Nations, Super Rugby. Summer's over, mate. The singlet's off.
We're back, baby.
Let's go.
We're back at the Mecca. I'm very excited for this season and very excited for where we can take this thing this year.
Yeah, James Parsons at Eden Park. That's what he likes.
Oh,
that's
my happy place.
And of course, joining us in the screen is our man Bryn Hall, who's over there with Kubota. Bryn, in the middle of the season already. You feeling good?
Boys, how good is it, man? Look, I think I look from afar, seeing our new beautiful set that obviously Ross and Eden Park set up, but nowhere in the half of the season at the moment. We're coming second on the table. We had a nice win against D-Rocks, our brothers just from down the road, and she is snowing at the moment, men. So I know that it's very, very warm, 29, 28 degrees currently in Auckland, and it's about -1 and snow all over my car and all over my balcony. Can let's start getting into this code, boys? It's been far too long.
Let's get into it. Super Rugby's coming up. Let's talk a little bit about what we can expect this year. Now, looking at the teams this morning, that Chiefs team is stacked. On paper, it's hard to go past them.
Oh, and look, they've been finalists like the last, 3 years. Not obviously been able to win, but I think where their challenge will be is managing the squad. Obviously a lot of All Blacks in there, and then I think their depth is probably the most superior. So if they can get through, I suppose, that rest and rotation of their key All Blacks, then they'll be primed and ready for a massive year. And shooter's a big hole for them, but Taumoefalau, they have recruited really well in the off season.
So we're going to see Taumoefalau fullback.
I think he's a genuine fullback. I just think he's a like-for-like player, like Shooter. Like, he's a player that can just make something out of nothing.
Thankfully, New Zealand Rugby let go of our Sean Stevenson, because I'll tell you what, he's having an absolute blinder over here the first part of the year. So we've got Nana Satoru, who's been there or thereabouts and probably can warrant being at 15. And you've also got Leroy Carter, who was outstanding for the All Blacks, had his first year with the All Blacks. So if you're talking around depth with the outsides, and then you talked around Anton Leonard-Brown, Daniel Rona and Quinta Pai, who had an outstanding year last year. I think they haven't lost anything with Anton Leonard-Brown. Sorry, don't get me wrong, they have lost something with that experience and having the quality of Anton Leonard-Brown, but they've had some really good replacements. And I think Daniel Rona, Jipper talks highly about him, all the effort areas and what he does really well. Could expect a very big year with him and Quinta Pai with that combination as well.
Bryn, your team, the Crusaders, they've obviously got Lester Whainga-Nuku back. Maloney Kunawavi from the under-20s, he looked really sharp in the under-20s, and the under-20s captain, Manumoa Letu. What do you make of their chances heading into this season? Scott Barrett's not there for a little bit. There's a few things there. Are they in a good place?
losing to Scott Barrett and even like a guy like Quinton Strange who'd been there for, since 2017. I guess if you're looking at the tight five and the more so the locks, it's going to be a big year for a guy like Jamie Hanna. They also lost Zach Gallagher, who probably went to the Hurricanes the year before, but that experience of that locking campaign is going to be pretty important. So I expect, Jamie Hanna to have another good year. Antonio Chalfern had a really good year last year. You got Liam Jack, Taylor Cahill. So I think that tight five, more so that locking department, will be interesting to see how they do go. But, you could bring a guy like Lester Whainganuku, whether he's going to play at centre or at wing. You've got Macca Springer, you've got Enor, McLeod, Harvili, Rivers Rayhan have played really well. Kimara is back, Noah Hotham, Kyle Preston. So there's enough out there to be able to try to go back-to-back. But like you said, the Chiefs are a team that were recruited well. And I think a smoky team that I think, Ross, as well, is the Hurricanes. Look, I know we talked around their loose forward trio. It's always a strong point when it comes to the Hurricanes. You've got Cam Roygaard, you've got Ruben Love, who I think might possibly be at 10 with Ruben Love, with Brett Cameron there. Geordie Barrett coming in, Billy Proctor, and then I think Warner Dearns. I think New Zealand viewers won't know him very much, but I think, look, he's a big part of Toshiba and played with Richie Moanga and the two titles that they had over here as the captain of the Japanese team, and then you'll be able to see him a lot more on TV. He is a big man and has a big engine. So with Isaiah Walker-Lear being there as well, and Caleb Delaney, there's enough there for, I think, that Hurricanes team. If they do get it right and they stay injury-free, there's enough depth in a lot of positions where they can go deep into this competition.
I'll tell you what, there is one absolutely shredded hooker in a Safar Moore as well. I'll tell you what, I would not be in any hurry to get in front of. He's obviously had some time out with his head knocks, and he has made the most of that time out by the looks. He looks fit and ready and rearing to go.
Those legs, they're
man.
pumping.
But like his whole carcass is he's just absolutely shredded.
Yeah.
It's like he's made out of stone.
Watch out. There's some good competition to hooker around at the moment too.
Absolutely.
So,
Just looking at those squads, I mean, Bryn, when you're naming the halfbacks, like the depth at halfback as well at the moment across the squads is just...
Yep.
You think about that battle with Hotham and Preston, that's going to be an absolute doozy. You've got Xavier Rowe and Cortez Ratama, the Chiefs. It's just it's an exciting position for us at the moment.
the Highlanders have got Lavanini from Argentina. That's a great purchase for them.
Yeah, well, we can talk to Gus about yellow cards in a minute. But I think he's an outstanding purchase. He suits a Jamie Joseph style as well. He's going to bring that edge that he's clearly looking for to steal up that pack. It's just, I suppose, how you balance the red mist. Like players like that, they can be enforcers and they can, I suppose, make you look twice as a player when you're playing them. But you can also use their fiery nature to your advantage too. So if he can get that balance right, I think, with a young pack, Fabian Holland there, like they're building, a really nice mix.
Pledger's a big loss, Brynner, as far as his injury is concerned, but Falafa Katava was looking really strong at the end of last year. They've also lost Hastings, so they've lost a couple of halfbacks, and Hastings gone over to Australia. So
Falau, he would have loved that challenge with Dylan Pledger. He was outstanding, and it was really disappointing to hear that he did do his ACL because there were big reps, and we even touched on him, and there's massive talks around him being on the India tour without even playing Super Rugby. So that just showed how much his talent was and how well he was for Otago last year. But I think, also Adam Lennox has been in that environment for a couple of years now. And, he's even, a little bit of a hybrid, was able to cover wing a little bit. He's done that for Taranaki, been able to do more so like a little bit of like a Leroy Carter, actually, covering 9 and the wing. But, I think that, with Dylan Pledger being injured, I think Falau Fakatava, with the way that his form has gone and, probably play a lot of minutes along with Lennox, who I think has done that well, considering that he has had his opportunity not being signed. But for this year, with Pledger being out, we'll probably see a little bit more of Lennox.
I think off the back of a massive NPC as well, Cam Miller, I thought he was amazing for Otago. And the pressure moments delivered. Then some, his kicking ability, I almost feel like it's his year. He's sort of hasn't been the main guy. They've sort of brought in Faliafanga, and that didn't work out. And I just feel like it's his time, and then the experience of a new stub backing him up, potentially coming off the bench, or that battle alone. But I don't know, he just looked like he came of age through that Otago season. And I think he's got some belief in himself now that I just really think he's going to shine this season.
There's been some really good signings, whether it be young and a few experienced players that Jamie was able to get as well.
especially Stanley Solomon. That, like, the Canes would not want
Yeah.
to let him go. He
Yep.
is he's going to be world class. Like
Yeah.
he's electric. So that's a hell of a get. And the only
Yep.
thing that I can think that a young man would make that decision, I think he thinks he's got an opportunity to play.
Yeah.
Or they've
Yep.
said, look, we're going to get you in the squad straight away and you're going to be playing, to something to
Yep.
that effect. So, because that is a big coup.
Yeah.
You know, like, he is a very, very, he's been through their pathway system the whole way, you know, so to leave the Hurricanes, you have to think, I can just think as a player, you're going
Yep.
there for minutes.
Looking over at Moana Pasifika, I mean, they've obviously got a big loss in Ardie not being there. They've got a big loss in Karanta Moifalau, Danny Tawala's gone, but they've picked up Augustine Pulu. You know, they've picked up Nani Lamape, they've picked up Jimmy Tupou, so they've brought in some experience to maybe offset that.
Yeah, look, I think Jimmy Tupou's a massive get, you know, with Tom Savage there, with that sort of experience, but I think Jimmy, man, I think he's playing some of his best footy. You know, that time he had at the Chiefs, you know, the way he's played for counties, just an extremely impressive, he's almost a bit like Benjamin Button. He's getting better with age, and I think his experience and his line-outs will hold them in really good stead. Look, I think with Augie and Nani, like, absolutely massive signings, but they'll need a hand. You know, like, even though Ardie stood out, you know, Tupou Ta'iloa stood out, and, you
Yes.
know, Miracle Whailangi stood out. You know, he was the shining light, but everyone, their whole team raised. So I think with those key players, yes, they've got to play well, but the rest of the group has to rise with them to see them back up what they went through last year.
One team that's lost a lot is the Drua. You know, Kanaveri obviously was a massive part of their play at hooker and captain, Caleb Muntz, Ravutamanda, Marcy. That's a tough loss. They don't look like they're as strong as they have been in previous years.
Yeah, and this is always the hard thing, is Super Rugby does give the platform, but that comes with eyes, and then with eyes comes opportunity from, you know, particularly from the French league and getting these athletes. But I do think they didn't quite have something right last season in terms of maybe, like, there were a lot of off-field indiscretions, and it just didn't seem like they were that gelling team. So I think although they are big names that are missing, I think you get the sense that they've been quite particular in making sure that they're selecting people that are going to get on the bus, I think, is the key thing. And remember, those players were unknowns.
Yeah.
So we don't know.
Who
We
the
don't
next
know
lot are.
what's coming. So it's not a side that I can sleep on. It's not a side that I know a lot about the players.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I didn't know a lot about, you know, Yusufa Masi. And
Yeah.
now I know a hell of a lot about him. He's really good.
Yeah.
So I think there'll be a few dark horses to come out of that squad.
Looking over the Tasman, Brynner, the Waratahs have lost a lot. I mean, they haven't had the best couple of seasons, but Angus Bell, Tain Edmed, Parecki, Leota, Gleeson, Fiketti. Do you see them as a player? I mean, your old mate Samu's back.
I don't know how many times we say it every year that you know, the Waratahs, with the teams that they do pick and they do have when it comes to talent, that they'd be there in that top six. But, you know, maybe with those, you know, those big guys leaving and some pretty, you know, some international experience and guys with that kind of value, you know, it gives guys opportunities within a young squad. You know, you got a guy like Pete Soma that comes back. I also like the signing of Depressini. I know that that Tain Edmund has gone to the Brumbies, but a guy like Depressini is really good in terms of that at that level, and could be the difference maker when it comes to I guess maybe unlocking this Waratahs tackle in general, just the Waratahs in general, because for too long we've talked about them being very disappointing. So now, do I think that's going to change with the squad that they do have and the players that they have left? I'm going to say no, but, you know, at the same time, Jip, we've been in teams when you've left. A lot of great players have left, and you get a new crux of players that come through that are ambitious, enthusiastic, and want to prove a point. That might be the Waratahs this year, and been able to, I guess, change our perception of what we've seen as failure in probably the last couple of years with the team that they have had on paper.
Oh, mate, I watched their preseason game. Whew, they look good.
Yeah.
They can score points.
Yeah.
You know, you've got Jorgensen, you've got Potter, you've got Suoliti, Depressini, you know, Callaway was outstanding. So, again, they've got an absolute firepower backline. They've got, I believe, an outstanding loose forward trio, but it's their tight five. Man, it's an area that I've struggled, especially in the front row. So I think if they can make sure that if they hold their own at scrum time, line out time, and in the collision area, they've got enough there to win this title.
Nah, I don't. I just think I don't think that's going to happen.
What about the rest of the Aussie teams? Where else are you looking for?
I think you've got to think the Reds are, like Les Kiss, last final hurrah. I honestly think the Western Force are little underdogs. Like there's something, I don't know. Like they've recruited really well. I think they've got a bit of belief. They've got that ability of. It's not an easy place to travel. That you're always going to play in the hot conditions. So I know they've got to travel the most, but it's also not a place teams go, oh yes, let's head over to Perth. So I'm sort of all over the place there on the Aussie sides. But look, I think the pick for me will be the Brumbies. I just think again they'll match up.
They've got Ed Med and Lolosio out.
From what I saw of Tane at Harbour, the guy's got game. I think he just needs to get some consistency at Super Rugby level. Like NPC is not Super Rugby. Like you've got less time, less space, and you've got to. So I think there's belief in him being the Wallabies 10. Like obviously Joe Smith sees something in him. So the opportunity he has, he needs to grab that team by the scruff of the neck and actually be the general that he was at Harbour.
There is one team I think I also want to touch on with the Reds. It's who their 10's going to be. Because I think you've got Tom Lynagh that's there. They've also signed Ben Volavola, who I think could be that 10-15 cover. But then you've got Carter Gordon as well with Tom Lynagh. So very interesting to see who is going to be the number 10 for that group. And you'd have to think whoever does win that between Tom Lynagh and Carter Gordon, Tane Edmonds there and Ben Donaldson at the Force, who will probably play a lot of minutes there and will be pretty close to, I guess, being in the Wallabies 10 with Les Kiss being the coach of the Reds, correct? So interesting time for the Reds and who's going to be that number 10 between Gordon and Lynagh.
Who are you putting money on?
I like Carter Gordon. And that's no disrespect to Tom Lynagh or the other 10s that I've seen at the Wallabies, but I just think with what his skill set is and what he can bring. Now, look, he is quite raw. He has been playing rugby league. He has come back, went on the India tour, didn't get a lot of game time. But look, I think if you look at the attributes that he does have, he's a bit different to what you get with the other first fives there. So now this is obviously going to be all dependent on preseason, how he's performing, how Tom Lynagh's going. You've got he does have a bit of currency. Tom Lynagh being the number 10 there for a long time, so Carter Gordon's had to go take it from him. But skill wise and what he can offer, I like him a lot more.
Lynagh was pretty good against the Lions before he got his head knocked. Like I think,
I just think I'm not sold on him either.
I'm
but
not
I think
sure
if,
he's
I
a
think
10.
If you look, he's definitely a 10. I think they're going to put him at 10. Yeah, I definitely think they'll put him at 10. Sorry. I can see where you're coming from. If they don't, they might want to pair him and Lynagh up, right? They might want to pair him up and put him at 12 and Lynagh at 10, possibly. But I think for me, with Carter Gordon, what his skill set is, with what I think international 10s should look like, he has all the traits to do it. Now, if he can piece that all together, then great. Whether he's able to do that through coaching or himself being able to do that, I'm not too sure. But traits-wise, I like what I see and what he can offer at the international level.
Well, here's our first debate. I'm going Lynagh.
So with all of that said, let's get into who our top 6 looks like. Jipper, who's your top 6?
Oh, does it have to be in order, or we just can name the 6?
Preferably in order, but if you're just going to name your 6,
okay.
go for it.
Well, you have to think the Chiefs are at the top. I think the Chiefs won. I am with Bryn on the Canes. I think the Canes are really going to make a push. Ruben Love's come out and said, I want to play 10, and I don't know, that excites me because what we saw last year, and with the backup of Cameron, so I think the Canes there, of course I've got to have my Blues in there, my old mate. Then the Crusaders, and I'm going to go to the Waratahs and the Brumbies.
Yeah. All right.
Who have I left out? Landers. Oh no, I'll put the Landers in the top 6 as well.
You're going to put Landers in the top 6?
I'll remove the Waratahs.
5 Kiwi teams, 1 Aussie team.
That's what I believe, yes.
Right, okay.
It's the year of Cam Miller.
It's the year of Cam Miller. The Highlanders. Does the squad got the depth?
Mate.
Over a long period of time?
I think they do. And like Bryn said, they've gone for young, so there's going to be youth energy. They've got enough, they've bought a little bit older in the pack. And when Bryn mentioned Hugh Renton before, he was their captain, their co-captain. He missed a lot of the season. He is absolutely frothing at the bit. to get back out there. So look, I genuinely do think, like I think it'll be 5th or 6th. Ratamaiti Neepkins as well. I think I'm obviously a big fan of his.
Yeah.
And I just think the more he and Miller can play together, I think that axis is going to be very, very tasty.
Right. Bryn, what does your 6 look like?
The 4 New Zealand teams that I think everybody's probably thinking will be in the top 6. You got your Crusaders, Chiefs, Blues, and Hurricanes. I think they make the top 6. I think the Brumbies definitely do make it, as they always do every single year. Now, where they're going to be on the table, I'm not too sure. But the biggest position for me is the 6th position, and it's between the Highlanders and the Reds. Now, I think if the Highlanders are able to stay injury-free, which I think was a big problem for them last year, you've got guys like Timothy Tivatavanawai coming back, who obviously adds a lot to that group. I think if they do stay injury-free with the signings that they have had, I think they sneak into the top 6. If they don't and they have a lot of injuries, then I think the Reds will come in the back door and they will finish 6th.
Right, that's very dominant New Zealand. This is returning to the ways of 3 or 4 years ago when New Zealand sides absolutely caned it in Super Rugby. Yeah.
The reality is Bryn and I know a lot more about the New Zealand teams than we would say in terms of in-depth knowledge.
Yes.
And being able to see. But look, I think it's still going to be a squeeze for 5 and 6, like it was last season. Like almost coming down to came down to the last game. So it's not all said and done. Like the Blues is another team. I know we haven't touched on them, but they've lost a lot of experience and they've got a lot of youth and enthusiasm as well. But their depth isn't as deep as that they've previously had. I think Peter Key is a massive get. Like he is. I think he could be the key to unlocking this Blues side. Just his ability to communicate in and out is absolutely huge, and his experience. You just can't. Well, I know they have bought it, but you can't buy it. So I'm really excited for his role. And at 12 has been a position that hasn't sort of been consistent. AJ Lamb's obviously played there, but he was originally in the squad as a winger. So like an out and out 12 is exciting. I compare it to like the Havili Moana, that ability to have that 12, that voice, that I suppose wise head is massive for the Blues, but. I think the Chiefs are like the guarantee, but I do think all those other positions are up for grabs and depth of squad and how you start. Because if you look at what happened last year, the teams that sort of just scraped in, like the Blues, had a slow start, and then you play that panic. You're sort of playing for your life every week, and that's quite hard emotionally. So I think the teams that want to be in the 6 need to start well.
And Ross, just one thing that I did want to say with the competition format as well, I do love that lucky loser doesn't get a home semi-final. I know that has been a change up in terms of what the competition has been. So I think, obviously the Chiefs lost last year and they were able to be rewarded with a home semi-final. I do like that they have changed that the person whoever does lose that has to go away and win a semi-final away from home. So I did enjoy that change up in Super Rugby Pacific as well.
Now the MVP race, we have no Ardie Savia. He canted in last year. Name it after him. He was so good last year. Who do you have topping your MVP race this year?
I'm going to give you 3 players because I can't pick who's going to top. I think Cam Roigard is going to be there. I think Damien McKenzie will be critical if the Chiefs are to go all the way. When they miss weeks, those 2 All Blacks, so they do sort of impact there. And I genuinely think Peter Aki. I think if he can get things humming, he is a genuine key MVP player. Patch on.
Yeah. Peter Aki back from Toulouse and ready to rock and roll for the Blues. Who have you got?
Cam Roigard definitely had Damien McKenzie. They're always influential players for them. I've also got Wallace Satiti. I think Wallace, considering probably how he had his year last year, just had a lot of injuries, wasn't able to get on the field a lot. I think with him coming back this year, from all accounts, he's had a really good preseason. So I think one guy that'll have a really big year, probably maybe similar to Ardie, like at Moana, will be Wallace Satiti. And then I think you can't forget Will Jordan. I think with how much he means to that Crusaders environment, we talked around it a lot, especially down in that environment last year when he wasn't playing the year before. They struggled a lot. So I think with what Will can do at fullback, he'll come back motivated, and I think he's definitely one to watch with being in the MVP stakes at the back end of the year.
From an Aussie point of view as well, like Harry Wilson, he was, he's one of those players that because it's picked by coaches and players, like he
Yeah.
runs off the back fence, you know, like
Yeah,
you've got to
yeah,
respect him.
Yeah.
So I think he could be there or thereabouts. And I also, from what I saw on the weekend, Max Jorgensen, he's so good. He's sort of like, because Suoliti's there, no one realises how big a star he is. Like, that was quite a good get for rugby from league, you know, and he just seems to be growing in confidence. And I think another year under his belt, and he's got some real confidence from this international game as well. So I think he'll be a threat if the Tars can get their season going.
Now there's the young players, of course, coming through as well. So a few guys to keep an eye on. You talked about Stanley Solomon earlier. Who is your young player to go, okay, you can't miss this person?
I really, again, I always feel bad for picking a Blues player, but you've got to realise, like, I watch their preseason games. So I think Cody Vai.
Oh, yeah.
He's been super impressive, you know, and he's had some experience in the sevens setup, and I don't know, he just reminds me a hell of a lot of Milani Nanai. Obviously related, I know that, but he just looks like he's got some real confidence and swagger about him, and again, with that experience of Aki in the midfield, actually setting him alight on the right wing could be, really exciting.
Hard for me to say not young, but look, I think I already touched someone like Jamie Hanna. I think it's a big year for him considering.
We're so bad, Blues and Crusaders.
So I'll be going Jamie Hanna. But then I think also with another one that I had with the Hurricanes as well. He's obviously not young; he's very experienced. But like Warner Dunes, I think, you know, like I've kind of touched on, New Zealand people haven't seen him from afar. But look, with watching him the last couple of years over in Japan, what the Hurricanes are getting, they're getting a very, very good player. So you won't be able to miss him. He's about I don't know how tall he is and how big he is, but he's a big man, and I think he'll be massive.
Right. So if we have a look at this weekend's game, we've got the Highlanders versus Crusaders. Crusaders away. Are you going to pick the Highlanders at home to maybe knock them over first up if you're thinking they're going to make the top six? They've got to win a few games like that.
Putting words.
No. A corner here. If they're going to make the top six, they've got to win some games like that.
No, I'll go the Crusaders.
I don't know if it's going to be O week down there. It's, you know, you probably get the best version of the Highlanders at this part of the year. You know, not too sure how the rest of the season will go. I'll pick them in the top six, but they'll be raring to go and want to get off with a very hot start, and especially under the roof in those conditions. It'll be a tight game. I think it'll be quite a high scoring game as well, but I'll go the Crusaders.
Yeah, Waratahs Reds?
Yeah, we're going the Reds. Definitely the Reds.
For you?
Waratahs,
yes. Okay, Drua versus Moana to start off.
Moana.
Okay, Moana.
Yeah, I'm going to go the Drua. I think until it's proven wrong around them losing in Fiji, first game of the year for Moana as well. I'll pick the Drua.
Blues at home versus the Chiefs.
Oh.
Hurry up, mate. We already know you're going, mate. You're not calling the Chiefs out. Hurry up, mate.
Blues beat the Chiefs in the quarters last year. You going Blues?
Yeah, God, it's a stacked squad though.
There we go. It's a tough
It's going to be a tight one. It'll be a one-pointer.
It'll be a doozy here at Eden Park. And what about for you?
I'll be going the Chiefs. Yeah, I think the squad that they have. Yeah,
okay, I'm picking the Landers. He said that way too easy.
Even Jipper was saying that the squad that they have. So yeah, I'll be picking the Chiefs.
Alrighty, Brumbies versus Force. Force at home.
Yep, Brumbies.
All right. Your Super Rugby wrap. Now, we did have a question that came through from Sam Taulele, and he wanted to know a little bit about, I suppose, the effects of the changes in Super Rugby. We'll be talking to Angus Mabey very soon on those laws and the up-tempo nature of Super Rugby and whether it's, as an entertaining product, actually getting teams ready to play test footy, getting these players ready for it. But he says it's growing wider now. We're not as strong in fundamentals as we need to be or want to be. Those skills are tested under pressure.
Yeah, look, I agree with what he's saying, but I don't like these are professional athletes. Like you, if you want to be the best in the world, you've got to have the ability to adapt and adjust. You have to adapt and adjust every week. Like the game's never ref the same, like ever. You know, so like I understand, but I really like the innovation, and the reason why I like it so much is it's now starting to make World Rugby make decisions that they're basically saying, okay, Super Rugby, it is working. The data is saying that it's more entertaining product, and a lot of these rules are slowly filtering through. Like these ones aren't going to fly through to international rugby, but I do think there is a respect to what Super Rugby is trying to do from a product sense. Like something has to change, man. Like if you keep doing the same thing, like we don't have the crowds, you know. Like we need to make it a spectacle for the diehard fans like us, but also for bringing new fans in. Make it an entertainment package rather than just a game of footy.
Okay, with that being said, it's a good time to introduce Gus Mabey, referee. Gus, we've got to get into some stuff because there's been a lot of chat over the last few weeks about these rule variations, I suppose, or whatever they might be called. These law changes, interpretations, you know, we go through them each year, and each year we seem to make some progress along the way, but each year we piss a few people off. So it's time for us to really get into this and figure out what's going on. So thank you very much for joining us.
Great to be here, guys.
Let's start off with, I suppose, this 50-22 rule. Because this 50-22 rule seems like the thing that could be the most interesting in the way that the game is played. Can you start by describing, I suppose, what's changed and what is likely to happen now under the new variation?
So the change isn't massive. To put it simply, you can now carry the ball back into the 50 and kick the ball, and if it bounces out inside the opposition 22, then you get the ball back. So last year, it wasn't the case. If you took it back, you had to start play from in there, so have a breakdown, tackle, and then you could have a crack. Whereas now, you can pass it back, take it back, and have a crack. What it could potentially mean, well, it's, I guess, going to be harder for teams to defend if they've got to put more players in the back to prevent it. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see what teams do, what tactics they employ, and whether or not they do it deliberately or it's a case of we've got nothing else on at the moment, we'll just have a crack and hope that maybe we can get the ball back. So it's exciting. Like I'm having done a pre-season game just over the weekend, didn't have any in that game, but teams are definitely aware of it and thinking about how they can do it.
Did they not try any?
Not deliberately. Like not setting up, right, we're going to do it here. It's more a case of there's nothing else really on, so let's just have a crack and see what happens.
Must be easier though for refs to ref that though.
Oh, big time.
You don't have to worry about where the breakdown was and what was going on.
Like the amount of times you would hear, or I'd get asked after a game, well, why are you saying carry back? It's just like a personal note to go, we can't have a 50-22 because it was carried back, whereas now this season they can run it back, pass it back and have a crack and it doesn't matter.
I think it's going to light up the attack, personally, you know, like I genuinely think you're going to have to protect that. Like you're not going to give someone just clear open backfield play and have a potential line out in your 22. So teams are going to protect it, which then means there's going to be less bodies in the front line defensively. So, you know, like teams that have that firepower out wide, I think you're going to see a lot of teams probably carry more, run more and utilise the strike to then potentially maybe manipulate it later on.
Yeah, I definitely reckon more so off scrums as well. I think, you know, even when we defended it, knowing that if it was over the 50, we could be able to not worry about that 50-22 space. So therefore your wingers can be up, your fullback can be a little bit more up, knowing that you're not going to be able to have that kick. But yeah, I agree with Jip in terms of when it's been able to, you're probably going to have those wingers back more consistent now, probably more so maybe to even into your half, into the 40, knowing that you can get that pass back at any time. So yeah, I think that's going to make a lot more attacking structures, more so for your scrums, because that kick space is going to be on for a much longer period, not just been going over the 50 now.
And I wonder as well, as the season starts, because as you guys can attest to, you know, there's a lot that happens to get a team ready to go round one, that all of a sudden they'll see another team do something and then go, do you know what, let's bring that into our playbook and make it actually a deliberate action.
Yeah, and I think as well, like at the start of the season, when there's these new things, it's been a big focus in pre-season. I mean, you've probably done it with your time at the Blues and seen it. And then you just button off, you know, like there might be a bit of time where you just stop thinking about it, stop focusing, and that's when the time will be to strike.
I suppose the thing is you don't want to telegraph it, do you? Because if you have a guy looking back like it's, you know, a drop goal situation where you have the guy hanging back, then the backfield's going to react. So you've got to be quite quick in the way you make it work.
And I think it'll be less the first receiver, but more like, say, like a Zahn Sullivan who's got a big left boot in that fullback role. I think you can see, you know, opportunities for those sorts of players or the second pair of hands to do it.
And even potentially a 9, you know, like a little box kick over the top, rolling end over end and just taking an opportunity.
Jamison Gibbs Park loves doing that.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, that'll still continue.
If you're going to have, you know, probably your two bunkers that are in the pendulum at the moment, they're going to be favouring more so the sideline. Now, if you look at probably on the weekend with Anton Dupont and even James Parsons and even a lot of the Six Nations teams kicking in that middle of that field. So it's another tactic. If you don't get that right, you think you've been able to get the 50-22s right, especially on the sideline. But the middle of that field, if that halfback's slipping in, which we probably saw a lot of the traditional nines do now, that middle of the field space is going to be a real weapon that teams will be able to try and get to as well.
But I think on that though, with the nines one, is that hasn't changed because they're still going to have the ruck. Do you know what I mean? So like this rule's about you don't have to have that ruck, so it's going to be when that ball's sort of transitioning back. I think teams are used to the nines doing it because they've had the previous rule in place.
Yeah. Speaking of nines and the use it law, the caterpillar ruck has been a thing that's kind of come and gone over the last couple of years as law variations have happened. You are now in the space where you can hand over possession. Are we going to see much of this?
We'll have to wait and see, because working with, so I'm embedded with the Blues throughout Super Rugby, so I can't referee them. I'm there throughout the week to help them to understand what they can and can't do, painting good pictures, and obviously helping players understand the law modifications as well. And it's going to take a little bit of time for players to adjust, but in the last 2 weeks of pre-season games, we actually haven't seen a huge amount of them in terms of a use it call. So to explain the law, if you call use it and the attacking team then adds another player to try and build that caterpillar ruck, then it's a free kick. The defensive team are still allowed to add players. And so there's only been a handful of examples so far where players have actually just not heard the call or just through habit have just gone and bound up to create that caterpillar. But I think what I've seen so far is that the halfbacks are tuned to it and are just using the ball quicker. And so whether that be clearing it quicker or box kicking it, like we haven't seen a lot of examples where teams are going, we can't play as we wish. And I think that's like the great thing about all these law modifications is, we aren't taking away from the fabric of the game. These are just minor tweaks to try and help you speed up the game, but teams can still play as they wish. So as long as they have that awareness, then they can still do what they want.
Yeah, and there's some halfbacks that don't need the caterpillar ruck, like they can sort of pull trigger quickly. I think the other thing as well, though, with it is the risk to versus reward, like a reward of a box kick, but the risk of a counter ruck, because the defensive team can join the ruck and the attacking team can't. Like the counter ruck opportunity, and especially in New Zealand teams, we target that wide breakdown to counter ruck. So I think they won't go to it. They'll be doing more kicks from, I suppose, 10 or wider out on the edges.
Bryn, my question to you is a fast box kick more effective as far as putting the opposition under pressure than a slow box kick? It
kind of depends. Like if it's good go forward ball and you've won the collision area and there's probably a long ruck, then as a halfback it's probably a little bit more easier to do a fast ruck. But for me personally, I kind of do like my time to be able to get my caterpillar in place, get the ruck at a distance that I feel comfortable with my box kick. So I think with this use it rule, I think more soon we'll probably see it. I don't know. I feel like in New Zealand, especially Super Rugby Pacific, in the early part of the year, it's probably not predominantly kicking because it's dry weather. Teams want to play with the ball in hand, probably kick a little more off 10 and not go into that kind of kicking off 9. Now, with how the escort rule has come in now, I think maybe teams might do that whether it's wet or dry. But I think maybe in the back end of the year, when the rules are probably used a little bit more and the kicking game is used a little bit more in the wet conditions, then I think it might be more evident. But to answer your question, Ross, I think most nines do like that kind of long caterpillar. So if you don't get that use it right, you've got to be able to use the ball, or it's not a great kick, and then which is great for attacking rugby because you can counter attack off that as well.
Given you like that depth, Bryn, would teams look at possibly to create that depth, just set up another pod and then have players there to be able to create a caterpillar?
Yeah, I think so. Like if you don't get it right, I think there's two options. You can be able to give it to the person probably next to you, because usually there is a caterpillar and there maybe be 2 or 3 forwards that are going to be in the chase line either side of the ball. But if you can't get it right, you set up another ruck. And I think it's also just going to be the movement and the intent of being able to get there quicker. Because if you don't get there quick, like yourself, Gus, or whoever maybe who's reffing, you're going to be calling use it as soon as that collision's kind of hit. So if you can't get that right, then you go to a number 10, being able to kick off, I guess, a contestable to what Jipper was saying. But yeah, I think the quicker you can do it and get the faster, the better to be able to try and get the caterpillar with this new use it rule.
Tactically, you've got a breakdown here, so you've got bodies there, and then if you've got a crew hovering around to set up a caterpillar of some sort, that's a lot of bodies in one area, and you're going to have to be very accurate in your kick because you're going to need that chase line to fill.
The good thing about it is that obviously the attacking team, they're trying to get away to build that caterpillar, but the defensive pressure that you can put on the ruck, because I think with the caterpillar, you want to try and get away from bringing in more people to kind of slow down that ball getting back from the 9. So I think when there's, with the defence, you don't have to worry about how many numbers you can put in, because even if Gus does say use it, the defence can still put pressure on, whether that's 1 or 2 guys counter-rucking, pulling them forward, and therefore, if you've only got 2 guys that are in that kind of setup, then it's really hard for a 9 to be able to kick. So I can imagine the exit strategies of the teams have been able to get that right. I think, like I kind of said, if you can move fast and your intent is to be able to get it quick, then I think it shouldn't be too bad. But I think it'll be a bit of a ironing out period, I think, probably the first part of the competition.
No, we always love to see what's being said on Rasi Plus, and that's where Jaco Piper got into it on this particular thing. And Jaco's point was essentially that if you end up handing over possession, that slows down the game because it takes time to get the game back going again. But the idea is that you get rid of it quickly so we don't get to that point, right? So it seems like a bit of a moot point to me.
Look, I think all these rules are trying to do is create more attacking opportunities. Defence has dominated rugby for so long, and these rules are taking some power back for attack, and I think that's the exciting thing.
But that doesn't necessarily take away from the scrum or the line out, right? I know that there'll be fewer of them with the knock-on laws, but
yes and no.
It's amazing. There's not actually statistically that many less scrums, in terms of previous years.
On average, I think I saw a stat the other day, it was something like between 12 to 15 scrums in a game, and that's across all the elite competitions around the world. So there's not a massive disparity between the competitions. Yes, maybe there's more resets in some competitions, so it feels like there's more scrums, but I know Rassi on his program, he talked about the player chart and it being a game 4 shapes and sizes and not wanting to move into a hybrid player sort of model. We're not taking that away. We're still going to need the front rowers, we're still going to need the tall guys.
Rassi can't say that. He invented the hybrid player. What's Andre Esterhuizen? What's Roger Smith?
He picks and chooses.
Yeah, Hoku, who played open side in the last World Cup.
It is crazy in the sense that if you look at it statistically, whenever these rules have been brought in, it's actually the error count that's gone up because there's more ball in play and there's more fatigue, which actually has an unintended consequence of knock-ons which lead back to scrums.
And I think people, a lot of the narrative seems to sit around ball and play. A big driver for us as referees is to try and reduce the amount of dead time. So, and we can do that in lots of ways. We've seen the introduction of the 30 seconds to set up a line out and a scrum, but we can, come on guys, let's keep moving. We had a camp in Sydney as the match officials a few weeks ago, and it's something like 51 seconds on average from when a referee blows a penalty to when, say, they kick for touch. Now, by simply telling the 10 to hurry up and kick it, we could shave 10 seconds off that every time. And that's going to decrease the amount of dead ball time. So a lot of that is around just trying to prevent people from changing the channel. Give them an opportunity to go and watch something else.
So when they take the free kick now, instead of taking a scrum, maybe if there's a knock on a line or whatever it might be, you've also got more room to play with as far as where you kick it from?
Yeah, so it's a subtle shift, I guess. Think of a corridor, so you've got the mark and sort of a 2 metre wide corridor, a metre each side, in line with the mark. The halfback can take it quickly. Probably the point that was discussed the most around this was at scrum time. So traditionally, if you have a free kick at the scrum, you'd see the 9 throw it back to the 8 and the 8 would take the quick tap. We're now going to allow the 9 who's feeding the scrum, if they get the free kick, to take the tap essentially where they are alongside the referee.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But the best example of it is Nick White and I think it was Corey Toole against South Africa. That was a mistake to let go.
Yeah.
They scored a try, and that's exactly I think from there is where the conversation was sort of raised.
Yeah.
You did make a very valid point off here about when you're 5 metres out from a try line, it is going to be a nightmare for a flanker and probably a potential yellow card in waiting.
Possibly.
Because you're just not going to be able. You're not going to just let someone walk over your line.
Yeah.
You know, like it's.
But give the penalty try, you don't have to give the yellow now either.
Well, it depends. It depends. If it's deemed cynical, then they can still get the yellow card, but we have greater scope now. But yeah, that is one of the potential counter arguments to this new law around, I guess, having greater flexibility around where you can take a quick tap. It's not to say that when there is a penalty or a mark, and there is, and we've seen this at World Rugby, but the same will apply at Super Rugby, just being a bit more diligent to make sure that players that are kicking for the corner don't take the mickey and kick it 2 or 3 metres in advance. So you'll see a little bit of, like, I guess we call it sort of housekeeping around a lot of that stuff. We'll just be on top of a bit more.
Yeah. It is interesting that that penalty try situation. Like, what have you made of the, like, as it was, where if there was foul play, there was almost automatically a yellow card. Was it overkill?
I think that's why there's still the ability to give it. Like, you guys, it's at your discretion, because sometimes it can be so deliberate and cynical. Like, you might not be, how do I put it? Like, you might not be that good at more defence, but you actually collapsing it and going to a penalty puts you in a better defensive shape. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think it was overkill in some situations, but I certainly do for genuine, skill execution, like poor skill execution. Yeah. And it's a penalty try and a yellow card. Like, it feels like a hefty blow. I'm all for it. If you do something cynical, I think the double whammy's okay.
Yeah. Like, I think a good example would be if a scrum just gets pumped 5 metres out and gets absolutely destroyed. Like, the whole 8 is to blame, essentially, right? They just they just didn't do anything wrong. An individual didn't do anything wrong. They just got beaten. Yeah. So get under the sticks, award the 7 points, and then crack on. Yeah. Similar with a maul, like if you get a really good maul set up and they just get driven over and not one player has just sacked it, then you could probably argue, okay, let's just award the 7 points and get on with it. Yeah,
or like there's always a good example, like a 9 jumps into a maul because they're getting pumped and they get yellow cards.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he just didn't know what he's doing. So I think, like, logic will, I think that even the viewers will understand when and I suppose the reason why a yellow is given and why one isn't.
More so, let's talk around the mauls. Like, if a team has given away, 3 or 4 penalties, but it's 3 or 4 penalties, and then it ends up being a cynical, not a cynical play, but it's the same picture where they're just getting dominated. Would you then be entitled to be able to think still a yellow card because it's infringements that continue to keep happening? That's when you give away the yellow card, correct?
Yeah, you can. So, like, we still have scope to be able to put teams on a warning and then follow through with a yellow card if they keep infringing. And you'll see it from time to time in games, especially if they're a bit one-sided, where teams are just struggling to defend and you almost are left with no choice. Like, man, I've given you the chance to not infringe anymore. So we do still have scope to be able to go through the escalation process to then end up with someone in the bin still.
And maybe just one more example as well, because I think at the moment it's a little bit different to rugby league, but the slap down, like the hand up, for an example. So, like, if team's going to go and score for it, go score a try, and there's nobody in there with what we've kind of seen in the past, and it's a one-time incident. Yeah. Would that be a yellow card, or would that just be a penalty?
No, if we deem it cynical, so if it's cynical, so a deliberate action, so a deliberate knockdown, which you think the public debated it, you think experts debate it, get inside a room with 20 referees and there's so much debate around deliberate knock-ons, it's ridiculous. But in that situation that you paint, it would be a penalty try and still a yellow card because it's a cynical action. Yeah.
Is there some consensus on that? Like the majority kind of like where it's at?
Depends who's in the room.
Yeah.
So Super Rugby, where we do differ from World Rugby, I guess, is that we are trying to probably lean more towards the attack need to be better at executing the skill. Yeah. So therefore, if a defender is good enough to at least try and a genuine attempt to try and intercept, then we'll lean more towards it just being a knock-on. Whereas probably at the test level, you'll see them more leaning towards it being some sort of sanction. I
like the way you're doing it in Super. It just makes no sense to me. Like, no one just goes like that.
No.
You know, like I genuinely think everyone that goes for an intercept is trying to get the intercept, you know?
Just
like
some
the
of them
ones
aren't in a position to actually
No,
do it.
but the ones that I think are probably where a penalty, I don't think anyone should ever be yellow card for this, but is when they're in a tackle.
Yeah.
And it's so, like those ones, I think when you're clear and open and you knock it down, I know they look worse, but I reckon the ones with the old fake wrap.
Yeah, they're trying to have 2 bites of the cherry. Yeah, they try to have 2 bites of the cherry.
It's an absolute beauty, and then they just go, "Oh my god!" It's like, no, we saw exactly what you were doing there, and I've been guilty of it as well.
Yeah, awesome. Hey Gus, thanks so much for joining us, mate. I really appreciate it. Now, you're doing a bit of work with Epilepsy New Zealand as well?
Yeah, like it's just something that cropped up over the last couple of months. So I was diagnosed with epilepsy 4 or 5 years ago. I'm one of the lucky ones that I can control it. It's controlled through medication, but there's sort of 30% that aren't that fortunate to be in that position. It's our 70th year this year, which is really, really exciting. So just trying to help raise awareness and kind of remove some of that stigma that's kind of unfortunately attached to epilepsy, and that you can kind of still live a relatively normal life and do a job that is physically and mentally demanding. So yeah, I'm excited to be on board with Epilepsy New Zealand, and looking forward to sort of helping them out over the next 12 months or so.
What did it look like for you? And what did you have to overcome?
It came out of the blue, so there was no history or anything like that. I've had 2 seizures in my life, and they were within the space of 8 months. The first one was at the gym on a spin bike, and sort of came to and had no idea what had happened. And the second was at home in bed in the morning. And quite scary, probably not so much for me, because I didn't know what had happened, but certainly the people around me, like my wife, my friends that were at the gym at the same time, like seeing how it impacted them, and because we didn't know what to do. And that's where Epilepsy New Zealand was really, really helpful in terms of just like that education piece and trying to get better understanding around like what do you do if someone has a seizure. And the natural thought is to call an ambulance, but actually in most situations they'll come to and be okay. It's more a case of making sure they don't hurt themselves on anything. Yeah. So that and then just through a series of tests and getting a medication that worked for me, I've been fortunate enough to be able to sort of continue on. And I guess the most inconvenient thing at the time is you can't drive for 12 months. So that was a bit niggly. Yeah, but it's one of those things that I live with. I take a pill a couple of times a day and just try not let it hold me back, I guess. But hopefully we can give Epilepsy New Zealand a little bit of a boost, and especially that it's the 70th year this year, which is exciting.
Well, good on you, mate. Thank you very much to Gus for coming on the show.
It's been great. I love the new setup.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Very
mate.
good.
At the Mecca.
Yeah.
At Eden Park.
Eden Park.
Yeah.
Do we get to sign the piano?
Mate. Well, Billy Joel signed it, so you should be on there next to it.
Jipper might.
Yeah.
No. I think I'll leave it to Billy.
You can't see it in the background because this room is where the bands and stuff come before they go on stage at Eden Park when they do a big concert. So you've had Coldplay and Metallica and Billy Joel and all sorts of people come through.
And now us.
This area
Yeah,
here.
it's the rock stars.
And then Aotearoa Rugby Pod. But there's a piano back there, and it's got the signatures of all these people on it, including New Zealand Band 660. So there's a few that's been through here. So
it's good.
We're in rarefied air.
Where we belong, mate.
But thank you, mate. Appreciate you
good to
coming
be
on,
here.
and good luck for this weekend.
No, awesome. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for joining us on the first episode back on the Aotearoa Rugby Pod across Stuff and Rugby Pass and the Aotearoa Rugby Pod official platforms. Now, if you want to get an extended version or interview with Angus Mabey or an extended version of our Super Rugby preview, you can do so on our YouTube channels. And please join us through the week because we're going to catch up with Stephen Perifetto, and he's got a really good story to tell us about what it was like going through his injury woes last year and what he had to do to come out the other side, to be back wearing the Blues 10 jersey. He's going to have Peter Arkejip, his boy, next to him.
Yeah.
And he's going to play a massive role. So we'll talk to him later in the week. Wonderful man and a really interesting story. So thank you very much for joining us once again on the Aotearoa Rugby Pod. We'll see you through a big year this year from Eden Park. We'll catch you soon.